The lilac sunset dissolved beyond the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. Silence hung in the air, as if intending to engulf all the sounds around. Only the periodic whistle of the wind disrupted this silence, creating ghostly whirls in the grass and leaves of the trees. The house standing on the outskirts of the small town seemed like a peaceful and cozy haven in this world of unpredictable events. But beneath this elusive illusion of tranquility lurked uncertainty, a shadow that could descend upon anyone at any moment. Inside the house, an atmosphere of warmth and comfort prevailed. The soft glow of candles created subdued lighting in the living room, while the flames of the fireplace flickered, filling the room with pleasant warmth. A young woman named Emily sat on a cozy couch, her husband Jake comfortably settled beside her. They watched television, although their thoughts were somewhere far away, in the realm of their own experiences and dreams. Emily was beautiful in her charm. Her hair, loosely tied in a bun, cascaded softly around her face. Eyes filled with warmth and kindness looked ahead, as if saying, "I'm here, and everything will be okay." Jake, sitting next to her, exuded the same attractive energy. His tanned face expressed calmness and determination, while his eyes gleamed with an invisible fire, ready to conquer the world for his family. But behind this picture of domestic coziness lay a different reality. A sinister shadow of the past haunted Emily like a ghost that refused to leave her. She was forced to confront her fears, even when life seemed tranquil. Remembering that dreadful day, she involuntarily clenched her fists, trying to banish the demons of the past. Suddenly, the doorbell interrupted their peaceful existence. Jake rose slowly from the couch, looking around warily. Emily sighed, feeling her heart begin to beat faster. She was afraid of what might be behind that door, but Jake's willpower gave her hope. Jake approached the door and opened it slightly. On the threshold stood a man in a black coat, whose gaze seemed piercing, as if he could see through every corner of the house. "Yes, how can I help you?" Jake asked, trying to maintain composure. The man didn't answer, just stared at him, as if peering into the depths of his soul. Emily felt a shiver run down her spine as the stranger's gaze seemed to glide over her skin. "My name is Daniel," the stranger finally spoke. "I'm Jake, and this is my wife Emily," Jake replied, gesturing to the woman who was still seated on the couch, as if glued to it. "Pleasure to meet you," Daniel said, but his voice sounded as if he had swallowed his own smile. "Can I offer you something to drink?" Jake asked, trying to make the atmosphere more friendly. "No, thank you. I'm fine," Daniel replied, once again glancing around the room. Suddenly, the phone rang, interrupting their conversation. Jake quickly left the living room to answer the call, leaving Emily alone with the stranger. Emily's heart pounded fiercely as she remained alone with this man they knew nothing about. "So, what brings you here?" she asked, trying to sound calm. "I already told you. We got lost," Daniel replied, his eyes sparkling in the darkness. "But how did you end up here?" "It's quite a remote place," Emily continued to inquire, feeling the tension building up. "We were just driving and got lost. Judging by your house, you must know this area well," Daniel replied, his voice sounding more confident. Emily tried to read the expression on his face, but she couldn't discern anything in this gloomy half-shadow. Her instincts told her that something was off, but she couldn't understand what exactly. At that moment, Jake returned to the living room, peeking around the corner with the phone to his ear. "Everything okay?" Emily asked, relief swallowing her voice. "Yes, it was just a call from my friend. He was asking if I've seen his cat," Jake replied, but his gaze was wary. Daniel watched them both closely, as if assessing their reactions. Emily felt invisible threads of tension tightening around her, wrapping her in their grip. "Do you live here long?" Daniel inquired, trying to keep the conversation going. "Yes, we moved here about a year ago," Jake replied, but his voice sounded tense. "And do you like this area?" Daniel continued to probe. "Yes, of course, it's very peaceful here," Emily replied, trying to suppress the unease in her voice. Daniel smiled, but his smile seemed unnatural, as if he had learned politeness from a book of manners. Suddenly, Emily caught a scent that made her heart skip a beat. A scent she could never forget, even after all these years. It was the smell of blood and fear, a smell that brought her back to those same nightmares she had tried so hard to forget. "What's that smell?" she whispered, trying to keep herself composed. "What do you mean?" Daniel asked, but his voice trembled as if he had lost confidence. "It smells like blood," Emily murmured, her eyes widening in horror. Jake also caught the scent and suddenly jumped to his feet, his face expressing fear. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice trembling with concern. But before anyone could answer, the sound of broken glass shattered the silence. They turned around and saw that the window in the living room was broken, and a man in a black coat had entered. Daniel stepped forward, his eyes gleaming in the darkness. "Now you're all mine," he hissed, his voice sounding like a menacing whisper from the past. Emily screamed in horror as the man in the black coat lunged at them, his eyes full of madness and his face expressing inhuman cruelty. Jake immediately leaped into action, trying to protect his family from this madman. But the odds were uneven, and Daniel proved to be too strong and cunning. He skillfully dodged Jake's blows and delivered counterattacks that shattered bones and left bleeding wounds. Emily watched the battle with horror, feeling despair wash over her as she realized they were both losing this fight. Suddenly, Jake pulled out a knife from his pocket, which he always carried with him. With his last ounce of strength, he struck towards Daniel, plunging the knife into his side. Daniel screamed in pain and released Jake, trying to pull the knife out of his body. Without a second thought, Emily grabbed her phone and dialed the police. She screamed into the phone, describing what was happening and begging for help. As the sound of approaching sirens filled the air, Daniel yanked the knife out of his body and fled through the broken window, disappearing into the darkness of the night. Jake lay on the floor, and Emily rushed to him, holding him in her arms as if he were her last anchor. The police arrived shortly after, but Daniel was already gone. He vanished like a ghost, leaving only traces of his cruelty in their home and hearts. After that incident, the life of Emily and Jake was never the same. They moved to another town, trying to start over, but the shadow of the past still haunted them, reminding them that no home can protect from the evil lurking in the darkness. After that dreadful incident, the life of Emily and Jake's family changed forever. They left behind the shadow of the horror that haunted them in their own home and moved to another town, hoping to start anew. But even in the new place, they couldn't avoid the constant reminder of what lurked in the dark corners of the world and how important it was to stay vigilant. Life in the new town was challenging, but they tried to adapt to their new environment. Emily and Jake decided not to get lost in their own nightmares anymore, but to build their future together. They became even stronger in holding on to each other, finding strength in their love and support. They began a new chapter in their lives, forgetting about the past as a heavy burden. Emily found a job at the local library, where she could immerse herself in the world of books and lose herself in their pages. Jake found employment at a local auto repair shop, where his experience and skills came in handy. Together, they resolved to create new memories that would rewrite the dark pages of their past. They dedicated their lives to each other, striving for each new day to be a fresh start. But even in the new place, under a new sky, they couldn't forget what happened in their old house. Daniel's shadow continued to haunt them, sometimes creeping up unnoticed, like a ghost reminding them that danger always lurks in the darkness. One day, while strolling the streets of their new town, Emily and Jake came across a memorial to crime victims. Their hearts ached as they remembered the difficulties they had gone through and the people who had lost their lives due to the cruelty and madness of others. But together, they decided not to let fear and horror define their lives. They looked to the future with hope and optimism, knowing that together they could overcome any hardships, no matter what shadows from the past haunted them. Gradually, over time, the nightmares and fears faded, and joy and hope for a bright future gripped their hearts once again. They began to find joy in the little things, in every moment they spent together. Their bond grew stronger as they realized that together they were invincible. But even on the brightest day, when the sun shines brightly and the sky is clear, they never forget that darkness can come at any moment. But now they knew that together they could withstand any trials, no matter how difficult they may be. And so ended the story of Emily and Jake's family, And although the shadows of the past may sometimes cast their menacing glow on their present, they will always remember that true strength lies in their love and solidarity.
Are you ready to dive into the darkest depths of fear and suspense? Don't miss out on our latest spine-chilling tales and terrifying encounters. Subscribe now to Darktales, Horror Stories, and join our community of brave souls who dare to explore the unknown. Hit the subscribe button below and prepare yourself for a journey into the shadows. Subscribe now and let the nightmares begin.